What happened while we were away, brought to you by Boys or Girls, and a recession is a booming economy. You may have seen this, but late last week, the White House released a blog post which attempted to redefine recession. The first two sentences read, "What is a recession?" While some maintain that 2 consecutive quarters of falling real GDP constitute a recession, that is neither the official definition nor the way economists evaluate the state of the business cycle, end quote. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre was asked about the matter.
So let me say this, the strength of our labor market, along with the other economic factors, is what we generally see in a recession, or even is not what we generally see in a recession or even a pre-recession, because we're seeing the strength of the economy.
White House economic advisor Steve Deace was asked how he defines recession.
Right, and certainly in terms of the technical definition, it's not a recession. The technical definition considers a much broader spectrum of data points. But in practical terms, what matters to the American people is whether they have a little economic breathing room, they have more job opportunities, their wages are going up. That has been Joe Biden's focus since coming into office.
The Bureau of Economic Analysis Gross Domestic Product report for Q2 is set to be released on Thursday. The United States GDP shrunk by 2.2% in the first quarter earlier this year. Joe Biden's Real Clear Politics approval average is sitting at nearly 20 points below water as of this weekend. At the same point, during Barack Obama's first term, he was underwater by almost 2 points. In his second term, he was underwater by 10 points at this time. At the same point during Trump's term, he was underwater by just over 9 points. Again, Biden is underwater by 20 points. Senator Chuck Grassley is reporting multiple quote-unquote highly credible FBI whistleblowers have stepped forward to his office alleging widespread efforts within the FBI to downplay and discredit negative information about Hunter Biden. A memo sent from Grassley to Attorney General Merrick Garland and FBI Director Christopher Wray details efforts from multiple figures within the FBI to downplay the laptop from hell story in the media back in 2020. According to the Department of Homeland Security, since October, there have been over 500,000 known gotaways at the southern border. That makes the total known gotaways in the last 2 years around 900,000. To put that into perspective, more illegals have entered the country in the last almost 2 years than the population of the Knoxville, Tennessee metro area, the Baton Rouge, Louisiana metro area, and the Dayton, Ohio metro area, just to name a few. A bunch of congressional staffers staged an insurrection yesterday at the U.S. Capitol, performing a sit-in in Senator Chuck Schumer's office, demanding action on global warming. Anthony Fauci says he has some regrets about how COVID was handled early on.
We know now, 2.5 years later, that anywhere from 50 to 60% of the transmission occur from someone without symptoms. The insidious nature of spread in the community would have been much more of an alarm, and there would have been much, much more stringent restrictions in the sense of very, very heavy encouraging people to wear masks, physical distancing, or what have you.
He also says it's time to bring back masks.
You are in a zone or a county, a state, or a city that has a very high level of dynamic of viral circulation. The CDC would recommend strongly that you wear a mask in a congregate indoor setting. And that would include schools, places of work, anything that brings people together in a closed environment.
Fauci says you can investigate him all you want because he was always following the science.
Well, there's no reason to do that, but if they want to, go ahead. My records are an open book. They are talking about things that are really bizarre, John, like crimes against democracy by shutting down the government. All I have ever done, and go back and look at everything I've ever done, was to recommend common sense, good, CDC recommended public health policies that have saved millions of lives.
Modern medicine update during the University of Michigan's recent White Coat ceremony. Incoming medical students walked out of the keynote speaker's address. That keynote speaker is Dr. Kristen Collier, an openly pro-life physician who has spoken publicly about her Christian beliefs and pro-life views. Meanwhile, in California, the voice you're about to hear is that of Kellen Lackhart, a so-called gender specialist at Kaiser Permanente in Oakland, who brags about cutting the breasts off a 12-year-old girl and castrating 16-year-old boys and performing meatball surgery on them to create a permanent gash, all for gender purposes.
But I'll talk about surgical care a little bit. In terms of masculinizing top surgery, I think 12 is the youngest who's had surgery through our program. And in terms of general reconstructive surgeries, we haven't had anyone under the age of 18 have phalloplasty or linguadoplasty, but we have had a few patients starting 15. I don't think surgery actually happened until 16 that have had vaginoplasty.
Death penalty. And finally, a terrible segue, how to talk to your kids about diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Son, we have to talk. And Dad, what's up? Well, I had to take a special class at work today. It was really interesting, and I learned a lot.
Okay. Like what?
Well, for starters, I learned that you are racist.
What?
And so am I. And so is your mother. And so is Emily.
Emily?
Mm-hmm. She's 3. Well, apparently you're born with it.
Dad, I'm not a racist.
They said that you'd say that.
But what about Jacob? He's been my best friend since kindergarten.
Well, that's what racists do, is they have black friends so they can actually hide who they really are.
That's not true. I like Jacob because he's cool.
Well, according to the presentation, you can have 100 token black friends, and you'd still be racist.
That's from the group American Firebrand, and that's what happened while we were away.